welcome back to Cross Stitch the Globe. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Allison.
And this is a channel about cross stitch. We have 3 kinds of videos on our channel. Today is a floss tube extra. I like to show my vintage hoops, my vintage embroidery hoops, and I bring them out for projects that today I'm going to show you guys them. And also, I've been stitching with them for just under a year. So after a year of stitching 90% of my stuff, like all my stitches with different kinds of vintage hoops, I thought I would do a little parade, show them, because I know people like to see like what people have, and then I also thought I would do tips on like a little bit of history, but I have also more resources for better history than me.
This is a channel about cross stitch.
I said that.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna go over like what vintage hoops I have, tips for stitching with them, a few tips for buying them, mostly leading you to other places on our channel for some of those resources. And then I might load up. We'll see how far we get, but yeah. So it's not a box of shame, but it is like,
yeah, you're acting very shameful.
when you take it out of all the project bags and you put them into one place, it's a little overwhelming. And
you should be proud of it.
I love them. They're below my children, but above some of my. They're like it's like children, husband, dog, whips, hoops, finishes, right? Like they're above my finishes. Like if, in a fire, I would save these over any finish object that I have. But our other kinds of videos we have on our channel, we do regular floss tubes. So if you are here from one of our other types of videos and you've never seen a floss tube before, a floss tube is a deep dive into our personal stitching, and we alternate floss tube extras like this and those episodes every other Monday. And then on Thursdays, we come out with short tutorials that are for beginner stitchers, mostly for people who buy patterns in our Etsy shop, but we want everyone to use them. And if you're an experienced stitcher, we'd love you to watch it and leave your 2 cents in the comments too, so that those comments become really resourceful for new stitchers. Because I will say that, like, if YouTube didn't exist, most of what I know about vintage hoops is not findable. Like, so much of cross stitch and women's like arts in general is like handed down orally, and even though it's like, you know, like
yeah,
we're doing this stuff for fun as a hobby and passing down information that we have been like received. Mm-hmm. There's not like a good PhD out there or book. I have a few books to show you guys, but like this stuff is, so those beginner tutorials are really fun, but we would love you to leave your expertise in the comments. Yeah. All right. So the way today is gonna go is I'm a vintage hoop stitcher and Allison is a
cheap bamboo, whatever,
craft store
hoop I can find.
And I also, if the projects I don't do on a vintage hoop, I will do on Q-snaps, and it's kind of in my head, it's like organized. A project will either be a vintage project or a Q-snap project, but there are very few projects where I stitch both. But Allison really is just like a craft store, doesn't really like anything else. But we're not comparing them. This is not like a what is better. No, because whatever you like is better.
Yeah.
This is just me sharing what I have researched, learned, and experienced in the last year with vintage hoops. Whether you ever want to touch one or not, it might be interesting to you.
And like, this is a unique opportunity because you have a sampling of so many different.
Yes. Now I will share in a little while. I'll share another video that if you're interested in this topic shows even more that you should definitely check out, that I will link to in the description, from the Antique Needleworker. Like, and this is not like, by far, this is not one of the only videos it's going to show, but I do think the perspective of, I've been stitching with these almost exclusively for a year, but I'm still a new stitcher. Like, I've been using these almost as long as I've been stitching. So if you're a newer stitcher, or if you are wanting to dip your toe into this world, even if you've been stitching for a long time, a way to kind of demystify and make it not like intimidating to do that. And then also kind of just a record of like, here are some other resources and things, and I just think it's good for us to have this kind of stuff, because it's not like somebody at Harvard is sitting there writing up like, here are all the women's like needlework tools that were used at the early 20th century that are still in use today. Like,
that would be a very interesting picture.
One of you guys might want to do that. I am never going back to school again. So.
I might go back. But I don't know what.
Well, and like, there is a college of needlework in England, like the Royal Academy. Like, you can get a degree in needlework over there. But it's like the projects they're doing, I follow them on Instagram. And the projects, I follow some of the students on Instagram, which is like maybe weird, but the projects they're doing are like very modern takes. It's not like this type of like stuff. So anyway, that's all that is to say. Like, I know this is not like, I'm not an expert, and okay, I want to say this too. I was waiting to film this video because I felt like there's so much more I need to learn before I can film this video. We happen to be moving, so it's a great time for me to be reorganizing my stuff and pull it all out. And then when we move next week, organize it in a way that's better for me because I will have a better space for them. And I realized I don't need to be an expert on using them or all the information about them. I'm just going to show you what a beginner can learn in a year. And I have tips for where to go if you want more information, but also if anybody else has tips, leave them in the comments and let's make this video really helpful too. And if you know of a book or even an academic paper about this topic, I would love to read it. All right, so I have a little bit of a, sorry, I'm a little bit disorganized. So Allison, because she doesn't film with vintage hoops, she's gonna do what we did in our eBay tips video, and she's gonna be the voice of you guys asking questions that she thinks are interesting. And I have a bunch of notes of things I want to share. So she'll ask questions, ask any other questions you want in the comments, but it will be a video where I talk more than Allison. So just be prepared for that. All of the Allison stands, she's not being talked over. This is just not her cup of tea. The video we're filming for our next extra, like immediately after this, is Allison's area of expertise and not mine. So, right. Where she has much more to say on that topic. So, don't worry, she will shine. Let's begin. First of all, I started watching Flosstubes a little over a year ago, and that is also when I got interested in hoops because I saw other stitchers showing them. And at first I just saw like pictures or whatever, and then I would see people talk about them, mention them a little more. And I watched so many different types of floss tube that I was seeing people stitching with like, you know, craft store hoops and Q-snaps and nerd hoops and these vintage hoops and lap stands and scroll frames, and like there's so many different kinds of things you can stitch from. And I think the type of project that you are stitching obviously indicates, like if you're stitching like a huge project, you might want a bigger stitching area than this, but also like the type of like interest you have in things like lead you. So I got really interested in these vintage hoops because I love history. I love traveling for history, and this was just kind of like, I like going to museums and seeing this stuff.
You like being immersed in
I like to like be like you know.
This is so you. If you guys, if you've been watching us for a while, you know these vintage hoops are just part of the whole experience.
What makes me happy,
of your stitching experience. So yeah.
So I was seeing people show them, and I was like, I don't know, like, you know, if I can afford them, whatever. And last summer the prices were lower than they are now. So I'm not going to mention a lot of prices. I have a price in my head that I won't pay more than for like one individual hoop. I might pay more than that, obviously, for a bundle if the price per hoop kind of is that. But the prices are higher than they were last summer. Some of these I got like really good deals on, and if you're seeing this in a year or two, the prices might be even different than that. Like, so maybe somebody discovers 1 million of them in a garage and the market pump, but like used prices are different. But from last summer when I started looking at them, I was able to get like bundles of metal vintage hoops in the like $15 to $25 range, where you might get 6 or 7 of them, and then like I also was able to find like a lot of Duchess and Princess hoops for like less than $20 per hoop, where by the time they got to me with like tax and shipping, were like $20 to $25, and that's more than a Q-snap, but it's not like $1 million, right? And if I go to sell them, I actually would probably make money if I sold the whole. I'm not going to, but if I sold the whole collection tomorrow, probably would make money. So it's not like, it was not crazy. The market has changed, I feel like, a lot in the last year, but you can still find great deals. I still have gotten ones for $20 and $5 in the last 2 months. So,
and you'll be talking about where you look.
Yeah, where to get them. And I, even last night when I was looking at prices on eBay, there was one that had some of the words misspelled, and it was like $10.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not buying it because I do not need that particular shape of that particular one, but like, there are deals out there if you look, but there's also like very expensive if you look. A lot of it just depends on like how fast you want it. But when I was researching it, most of the information I got was from Flosstube. I did decide to get some books that I hoped would kind of be helpful on this topic. They weren't really helpful on this topic, but if you like this topic in general, you might enjoy reading these books for like the wider scope. So this is Gertrude Whiting, Old Time Tools and Toys of Needlework. It's really fun. It goes through like a lot of different like historical implements, but the like footnotes on like embroidery hoops is not like, this is not going to teach you about this topic, but if you like this topic, you might also like this book. The Encyclopedia of Victorian Needlework. You would think maybe this book is based on an 1887 edition. Now this is only the first half. I didn't realize that. This only covers A to L.
Oh.
So it was like $12. I do need to go find the second half of it, but eventually. But I was looking at like embroidery hoops and stuff. The information's not great. The only thing in here about on this topic, when they have like all kinds of great stuff. I also use this for our like fabrics when I was like Ada and stuff, because it's interesting to see what so many of our reproductions have which predate this. It's interesting to see like, okay, at the end of the 19th century, what were people talking about needlework? And like hoops aren't even in here. Frames are in here. I'll show you guys the picture, but they don't look anything like what we're doing. And they're, Allison just asked, and I cut out like me flipping through the book. Allison just asked, like, does this cover like specialty stitches and stuff? It does. It covers a ton of stuff. It's just so funny how big cross stitch is to us and how small it is in the current fiber arts world, and it was still very small.
Really?
Like, yeah. And it wasn't even like, its own real thing. It was part of embroidery. Yeah. There's no entry for hoop or there's entry for hoop, but they mean like hoop skirts, like the King and I type of skirts. Yeah. And they have an entry for embroidery frame. But they are not really talking about like what we're using. They're talking more about like, I guess this would predate like a roller frame or a scroll frame or something.
That's the first use now.
Yeah. So the kind of funny thing is, for this it says all of the best kinds of embroidery, such as church embroidery, crewel work, embroidery with silk, tambour work, and Berlin work, require that their foundation shall be stretched in frames, as the stitches are apt to draw the material together when the work is embroidered in the hand. Whereas the frame keeps the foundation evenly and tightly stretched in every part and renders it impossible to pucker unless the embroiderer is very unskillful. So if you like this kind of stuff, this book is fun. It's just not going to give you a ton of information about this topic. And I also got these needlework tools. Again, not super helpful. And also, there's so few books on this topic. I was tricked. I thought these were different books. They're the same book.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. They're just different printings of the same book. So another fun book if you like this topic in general. You get lots of like pictures of old like sewing stuff, but not super helpful. So for me, so far, the number one place I've learned about this stuff is Flosstube, which is why I think it's such a good thing that we're all doing in so many different ways. All right, so now let's start the little parade. And I was watching Bindi Stitchy this morning, and she was Michelle was talking about her like Tour de France piece that she does as like her show and tell, like getting to talk about like and she said somebody told her that Flosstube is like adult show and tell. So this is my contribution to the show and tell. All right, I'm gonna go through a lot of these are duplicates, so I'm not gonna show you each individual hoop because I'll have like 2 or 3 of a lot of the same ones. But I found a couple of good blog posts. One is from Scattered Seed Samplers, her website, and I'll link to both of these, and then also one from Elizabeth Bunce. And the one from Elizabeth Bunce had some original, and I'll show the picture up here, had some original ads for some of these tubes that say like what sizes they were in. So I think I have one of every size that some of these come in, except for one. And then I have like, so the most famous are like the Queen, the Princess, the Duchess, and I'll show you those. I think I have one of every size of the Duchess and the Princess, except for like 1 or 2 like of the hoop sizes, but I have all 3 of the ovals, I believe, for all of them. Then the metal ones come in a lot of the same sizes, and but I don't have as many. I have more types of metal ones, but I don't have as many of each individual one because I kind of quickly figured out I didn't want to stitch with them as much, and so I stopped looking for them. All right, so I'm gonna go through these. I'm gonna cut out me actually Okay, so I'm gonna go through these. I'm gonna cut out me digging through the box and I'll just show you. You'll just see the hoops. All right, so the first group I have are Duchess circles. Now, I thought I had more of the big Duchess circles than I do. What I found is I really prefer, for my personal stitching, like the princess is better. And so now, whenever I'm in the market, like, and I see one, if it's a Duchess, a smaller one, I might not get it because I'm like, I really like the princess. The bigger princesses are my favorite, but.
No, princess, Duchess, what's the difference?
So the Duchess is, there's no metal on it. And one of the improvements listed on this, like, so one of the blog posts I found had this like article that showed like the improvements of like, this is like innovative. These were patented in 1898. Okay. So most of these were made, some of these, not most of these, but some of these I believe are like considered technically antiques because they're literally over 100 years old. I don't know what the manufacturing years were. So like they were made 1898 until some time. I don't know when that like time is, but like you see articles in like 1906 and 1916. So like whether you got one that was made at the end of the production or whatever, it's like,
yeah.
So they're stamped. The stamps can change. So this stamp says patented Duchess felt cushion. I'll talk about the felt in a minute. This one we'll talk about in a minute. This one says Duchess made in USA. So you can see they had a long enough production run that they changed styles. This one, the mark is there, but it has like worn off. And then this is like, and I don't know which is, some of the markings of ones I've seen online say like patented 1898. Those are probably the oldest, but I don't know technically if any of these are technically over 100 years old and therefore antiques, but in 10 or 20 years, most of them will be. How about this a bit? So, okay, so the improvement that these hoops made over what existed at the time was that they're like considered like non-adjustable. So it's very annoying to adjust fabric in your like little. That's part of why I prefer these over. Is I was like, oh, you don't have to adjust them.
Yeah.
So the felt cushion gives it like a little bit of wiggle room. So whether you put in like a thicker fabric or thinner fabric, the felt cushion adjusts to the fabric, and then you put your hoop on top, and so it adjusts it automatically. Now, some of my ovals need more help. Most of my like circular ones are still in perfect condition, don't need anything. Some of my ovals will show you need like washi tape and stuff to like, because they've like loosened over time. When you buy one, how intact the felt is matters, and sometimes they'll say like there's no felt cushion on the inside. Like at some point, it's not that someone stripped the felt off because you'd be able to tell. Because that groove, you'd be able to tell if there just wasn't. Is that like the little inner has been replaced with a different type of hoop or something, or a different like version of the Duchess because the felt is no longer intact. But of these is actually pretty intact. Now I don't love using the 3 and the 4 inch. My brain doesn't like seeing only that much. I will use this one. I actually took this out of a project bag. I was stitching Come to the Garden with this. So I'm going to use this also as an opportunity to like rethink where things go. But Antique Needleworker, she loves the smaller ones because she keeps her fabric a little bit looser, pokes her finger out, and then does the sewing method in them. So just because I like one type doesn't make that type more valuable, and just because someone else likes one type doesn't make that type more like helpful to you. Like, think about the types of hoops you like to use in real life, and that's the size of hoop you would probably prefer to use in vintage, unless you just happen to get passed down one from your grandmother or something, in which case, like, that's the one you probably want to use the most because that's got family connections. The Duchesses don't have anything on them. Like, they have no metal on them. If you go to buy one, you want to think about like how intact the felt is. If it's not, you're going to need to use washi tape. To me, that doesn't matter. But it will affect its like value. Now this one is similar, but has no brand and is thinner. So I got this in kind of a grab, like a mix of metal and wood hoops. I didn't pay like.
And it has the felt in it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So it looks kind of like a Duchess. It operates like a Duchess. Like, I don't mind stitching out of it, but I don't know how it's. I mean, I would assume it's not like. I would assume its monetary value isn't the same. Now, the Gibbs manufacturing code that made most of the hoops, like made almost all the hoops that I have, no matter what iteration they are, They were based in Canton, Ohio. I don't know if they're still open. I don't believe they make hoops. If they make something else, I don't know. But they were the largest manufacturer of hoops. So that's why they have so many of them. Are mostly made by that one company. And they just kept like coming up with new designs and patents and things to make people be like, oh, I need the new one, or like whatever. Okay, so those are my Duchess oval or circles. Now, I prefer actually stitching with larger oval hoops, even if they get a little bit loosey-goosey. There are 3 sizes of ovals. I actually don't have any of the big Duchess ones. I prefer the 12x6s princess hoop. That's literally my favorite one. These are 4.5 by 9 inch Duchess ovals. I love these too. I stitch with these constantly. Now these do get more beat up for some reason. I don't know if it's the shape or if it's just the ones that I have. Now that I know that I like them, I'm looking for deals on them.
Excuse me.
I don't know. So I have a bunch of these now. Almost all of my ovals Duchesses need some kind of help to stay tighter.
Yeah.
I'm okay with putting washi tape on them. A lot of the times when you buy a vintage hoop, like
tell them what washi tape is.
I'll talk about it in the like what to do, like prepping them and stuff section. But that's kind of what I do to not only make them so that they're not too loose, but also to like sometimes they'll get like little places that would snag your fabric or whatever because they're wood, and so I will cover those kind of hot spots with them as well. So those are my Duchess ovals. I only have this one little, like smallest one. This is 6x3. I don't love stitching with this. I mean, first of all, you can see that I have like a very janky one at this point, but it's just the size is very funny to me of like, what do you stitch in that? Yeah. The ad said like literally, or one of the things I read said that like, this is for stitching like hosiery and like garments and stuff like. So there are like legitimate uses for it. It's just my projects tend to not be that kind anymore. Yeah. So that's all the Duchess hoops I have. The princess hoops are the next kind, and I believe, but again, I don't 100% know because it's hard to find out. I believe that the Duchesses came first, and then they developed the princesses, and then they developed the queens, and then they developed the springs, and then they switched everything to metal. I believe that's the order it goes in. So that's the order I'm going to show in, but if it's not, feel free to leave that in the comments. So next I'm going to show my circular princesses. Okay, so I prefer a princess hoop to a Duchess hoop because of the bow. So this little bow spring. So instead of it just being like adjusted with the felt, instead you push this in and it changes the tension of the hoop because it has there's a little break in the wood, and this makes that out, and so you just pop it on and off by pushing it, and it makes it very easy. These come in the same sizes as the Duchess hoops. The smaller ones, again, are not my favorite, but I do like them, and I do find like good projects for them. But I prefer the 6 to 8 inch circular princess hoops and the larger princess ovals. These are like, if you were to ask like, what is your absolute favorite to stitch with? I love this one and I love this one. I I use these on so many projects. Now, part of this whole endeavor is like, I want to get things out of project bags so they don't get stuck, and maybe I can use those on more things. But the princess hoop, we came up with a funny little thing during one of our episodes, which is like, the Duchess has no crown, but the princess has the little thing that like crowns. If you're in a store and you see one, I think sometimes people know the Duchess name more and can actually make those like more expensive than the princess hoops, but I prefer these. And also the prices are constantly changing, and who knows what they'll be. They also are marked, so that mark says Princess Patented Adjustable Spring. So unlike the Duchess, which are considered like, you don't need to adjust them, these are considered like auto adjusting. Like they adjust themselves once you pop it in there because they have the space to do it. Looking to see if any of them, I also have some that say made in the USA. So they have similar markings. And I don't know how long they were produced alongside each other or what year these were first produced. But think some of these were done in the teens, so some of them will start to be antiques, but it's hard to know if yours is an antique. Wait a few years, like in a decade, you'll know, oh, that's probably an antique. Okay, so next are my like true favorites. So these are princess ovals. Unlike the duchess ovals, which because of the felt and the shape really have like worn away more, I feel like the princess ovals are in just as good a shape as the circular oval, like the princess circular ones, at least of the ones that I have. And I don't have as many of them, but the ones I have are in pretty good shape. Now, this one is really tarnished, and we're going to talk about cleaning them in a little while, because obviously if you get something in the mail, sometimes I just pop it on a project, but like, you shouldn't do that. I love these because they just give me so much real estate, but I also, like, it doesn't hurt to hold it. You can hold it really close and it doesn't hurt. It's not like you're like stitching up here on a big thing, but so you can still hold it really close, but you have still more real estate. And whether you're doing a vertical or horizontal section, you can get so much, you don't have to move the hoop very much, but you can still, like, it's like working with the 6-inch hoop in a lot of ways, but without having to adjust as much. And then these are the 9 by 4.5. I did see one of these on sale this week for 20 bucks. Nobody else bid on it. I bid on it. I got it for $20.50. Well, no, there was a bid. It was for $18.50. I bid 21 as my max. I got it for $20.50. But you also see these as like 60 bucks. So I was like, well, I'll pay the 20 because by the time it gets to me, it was going to be $28. It's like, that's worth it to me. But the prices really changed. So when I'm shopping these days anymore, I'm really only looking for these bad boys because I just love these. And
that specific shape, princess.
The large, this is my favorite, and then I love these two. And then also, not every project though can fit in it. Like some projects, your fabric is smaller and you need like. So I do use all of my wooden hoops. It's just if that is my personal favorite. Okay, so after the princess hoops, we have the queens now. I got a really good deal on it. I'm not sure why I got a really good deal on it. This is what it looks like. And by good deal, I mean like I paid $98 plus taxes and shipping. And some of them go for like $300-$400. You can see it does say like queen patented. And it doesn't have a mark on the outside because the mark is on the metal. So I'm not reselling it. And I haven't stitched with it. And I haven't like cleaned it up or anything because part of this feels like more like an artifact than something I want to stitch with. Okay. I probably should stitch with it, but I'm not emotionally prepared to. I've owned this for 9 months and have not stitched with it. I just look at it and love it. I'm thinking maybe when we move, it should be like out as like art.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Like, you know,
you can frame stuff in hoops. Why not just have them?
Yeah, like, or at least just be on the shelf out. Now, the difference. So the princesses had the bowstring to adjust. These have the top winding. So this part of what makes me more scared to use this than the other ones, even though I know people stitch in these all the time still, is that this mechanism actually could break. I feel like a lot easier. Like whereas the Duchess doesn't feel like it's going to break, and if it does, you can just washi tape the problem. Mm-hmm. And even the princesses, you can just washi tape the problem. But this spring feels like it has is more precious, and my children are wild animals. So like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to stitch with it or not, but right now it's just kind of like my baby, mm-hmm. and I just like pet it, you know. And maybe one day I'll just sell it because I won't even bring myself to stitch with it, and it's silly to have it. So part of why it's like, let's get these all out now because who knows what this collection is gonna look like in a year if I decide I don't want to hold on to things I'm not using or whatever. But for right now, I love it. I do think I want to clean up the tarnish a little bit on here, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. So that's the wooden queen. Now after, I believe these came next. The spring load top ones come next chronologically, but I'm not 100%. The spring top ones are not as highly valuable as the other kinds, partially because I believe because they're newer. But then also they're just not like as like, you know, a spring is not as romantic. So these are called, this pattern, you can tell it's the same company, and this says felt grip. These are still from the Gibbs Manufacturing Co. And if you ever wonder about it, top of the spring has that information on the label. Gibbs Manufacturing Co. So if you're ever like out and you're like, oh, I see this and I think it has value, but I'm not 100%, you can say like, does it say that Gibbs Manufacturing Co. on it? And I bought this one. We were like, I showed you guys when I bought it. This one was in a $5 grab bag. But these do sell on eBay right now for like $20 to $25. Like people paid that amount. So, and I love stitching with this. I'm stitching Touching the Autumn Sky with this. Oh, and nice. I love this hoop because I love an oval. So now I know, oh, actually I love the spring ovals as much as the princess ovals. So like maybe I'll get some more spring ones because I have stitched so many things with these 3 spring tops and now this one. And I love the spring. So if you're thinking like, I want to try vintage hoops, but I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I don't want metal, I want the romance of wood. These are a little bit newer, a little bit less expensive, but still like, I think 1940s and 50s. These were not made yesterday.
Yeah.
I believe 40s and 50s, but again, I don't have access to looking up that specific information. So if you want to double check with someone, feel free. But I love them, and this is a great way. You can probably find one of these for much less than the others, and to get started, see if you even like stitching with this kind of thing. And if you just want the romance of it, it's great. Now, this is probably the one I stitch with the least because like it's such a small space. It's just not my favorite size, but I think it's really cute and sweet.
It is cute.
I don't know. It doesn't have the metal top. I don't think this is the same company. It also is not the same like quality. Like you can tell like this wood is really high quality.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I still like it and I'm not getting rid of it or anything, but it's just this, like I would pay the same price for this if I saw it in the store.
Yeah.
Oh man, $5. So part of what I love about showing them is all the people who message me and say like, I found a bag of them for $1, whatever, and I saved it. It's like, yeah, let's save them. And then if they're not for you, get them someone they're for. Like you can even make a little bit of money on them as long as you're not like crazy. Yeah. But let's save them. You know, eBay is a great place to find them, but let's save them from thrift stores and garage sales and estate sales.
Yeah.
All right. So those are my wooden ones. All of them are in rotation. All of them get stitched on. Like
I talk about the feeling between the difference.
Oh, well, like the difference between this.
Like how does it, what's the difference between stitching, the feel of stitching on the spring?
Well, you can just feel like if they're more substantial.
Oh, okay.
Like they're not as heavy as a Q-snap, but they are more substantial than like a craft store hoop. It's kind of the difference in that it's so great to walk into IKEA and get something cute in your price range that you love, but you also know it's going to last like 2 or 3 years. I don't know how many craft store hoops are going to make it 100 years because they're just not made at the same weight.
I have everyone I ever, no. I've only been stitching for like 7 years.
Like, so, and this actually doesn't feel that much heavier, but it's just like a different, it's just different. It's just a difference between like modern and turn of the century to 1940s, 1950s.
Yeah. Well, there's something finished about the old one that the new ones don't have.
The old ones are beautiful. And so I want to clean mine because I do think I want to think more about like but I'm a custodian of these specific ones and preserving them for the one. But yeah, like, and even the spring-loaded ones, which are not as valuable, do not skimp on the design of the hoop. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have like a worse experience.
It is very tight. I wasn't, I guess, because they
hold them so tight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sometimes they get a little loose if you haven't like washi taped them, but especially the princesses. Now the coloring can change, and there's nothing about I like the darker look, but there's nothing about the darker versus lighter that changes.
Is it heavier?
It's just heavier because it's bigger.
Oh, but it's not heavier because of the wood.
No, but feel this one.
Oh wow.
I love it. I mean, you guys.
That's a hefty hoop,
and I love it. But that's also why I like a Q-snap. Once I started stitching with these, I got rid of all my craft store ones. I took back the ones that I hadn't used, and I gave Allison all the ones that I had used because I just didn't want to hold something that light anymore. And I hate fiddling with the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate. I hate that. I actually have get the vintage one I just gave you. So I have one vintage one that came in like a lot. That I don't know how old it is, but it's at least like it's older, and that is a screw top. I was like, I don't want it. I can't. I don't want a screw top. I don't like them. Some people love them. Allison loves them.
I love them.
So, but yeah, so for me, the difference is like the romance of it, the history of it, the preservation
They're
of tradition.
definitely smooth.
But they also, I do feel like, are a really nice like experience. I wouldn't do it if it was just that, but it sucked to stitch with.
To actually stitch
Yeah.
with, yeah. I'm definitely a function person.
Yeah. And like I said, like these spring tops, even though like you don't hear about them as much, you get everything except it's like, okay, this person might have been stitching like initials in their husband's military uniform to send them off to World War II, as opposed to like, you know, like it's just a different era, but it's, you know, it's not like a different quality, I don't believe. So now we're going to move into the metal. I don't know what order things in the metal were manufactured. Like, I don't know if they started manufacturing these, like, but if you're ever like looking for a queen hoop and you see a metal one, they are queens. They have the same design, but they don't say it anymore. They say made in USA, patented, but it is like the same design, so it gives you the same experience, but a lot of times these will be just much less expensive. I've seen them like on Buy It Now for like $75. I got this one on Etsy for like $15 because like the person just didn't know what they had, and I was like, oh well, yeah, I'm buying now. Yes, please. So like, but I actually again haven't stitched with it because even though it's like not the wooden queen, I don't know, I just
nervous.
I should, yeah, I should.
Stitcher.
Actually, I'm gonna do having all my metal hoops out is giving me like real inspiration to get them all cleaned up and like making sure like which ones are in stitching order and which ones aren't, and the ones that aren't, pull them out of the like box that's for stitching ones. Mm-hmm. So because some of these metal ones, I'll just tell a story about actually. I'll just tell a story about this hoop that made me scared for all my metal hoops, and so I just need to clean them up. So I got this hoop. This hoop is called an Adjusto. It says Adjusto 28. No, it says Adjusto patent October 23rd, 1917. So even though it's metal, it doesn't mean it's like brand new. Like this design is over 100 years old. There's no way to know if this particular hoop is antique or not. It has a cork on the inside. And I love this hoop, and I do want to get it in stitching order, but something that scared me about this hoop is I got it when I got it off eBay, it had a project inside, and when I pulled the project out, it was like had rust on the fabric. Now, people stitch with metal hoops all the time, and that fabric had probably been sitting in there for like
years,
decades. Yeah. So that's not a reason that it's not like stitchable. And I did start the process of cleaning this up, but I want to kind of double and triple check some of the things about the metal hoops before I put them with a project that's going to sit there for a year in the bag, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, this Adjusto is not, I don't believe it's a Gibbs Co, but I'm not sure. But the way you do this one is it like rolls this way, which I think is pretty fun. Mm. And I want to get this one in stitching order. It's just not yet. So that's what scares me about all the metal ones. So I want to get them all out, clean them up, and know like maybe I'll put some white Aida in them, and if it doesn't stay in the white Aida for like a week after I clean them, then I'm like good. I don't know. And if you are like a super expert on these and you want to tell me I'm being silly in the comments and like just stitch with them, feel free to tell me that.
I would have the same concerns. You guys, metal, it's tricky.
Yeah. Well, now the cool thing about metal is these metal hoops are a lot less expensive than the wooden ones. So like you can find them in lots. Like I would get 7 of these for the price of 1 or 2 of the other ones. So like, and I do sometimes stitch with them. I just haven't stitched with them since that happened, except on one project. There's one project I pull out. I have a metal hoop, and actually, oh no, it is here. Okay, so these are the circular spring top ones. They're the exact same as the wooden in terms of how they work. The difference is a lot of them have a cork on the inside. Now, with the cork, it means that you want to be careful how you clean it because the cork will absorb the liquid. So when we get to cleaning, we'll talk about that more. And also, when you put it back, you want to make sure you're not getting the cork like hurting the cork, because like that's not going to be easy to fix.
Yeah, that's scary.
So when I put them back on, I'm a little bit more cautious. And then also like I don't think this dark cork would hurt it, but I just want to get these cleaned up maybe test them a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what you guys say about the cork metal ones.
Yeah.
But some of them, I don't think all of them have cork. No, that one does. Okay. I'm not going to open them individually to see, but I feel like one or two of them didn't. That one does. But they come in the same sizes as the other ones, like 3 to 12 inches. I have a lot of the ones in the middle. And they work really well. They hold your fabric so tight. And if what you like about the wood partially is the heft, like they have a little bit more. I do think they're lighter than the wood though.
I don't think they're lighter than those. What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I need one of the same.
Is that about the same?
A little bigger, but this one's heavier. This one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny. So yeah, so if you want the tightness and the history and whatever, this is still gonna give you that for like a much less expensive price. Just taking care of them and getting started, like cleaning them up to start with, is still something I'm like figuring out, which is why I'm not as, they don't get assigned to as many projects. But I would love to because like, yeah, I have a lot of them and I don't.
Ready to go.
Yeah. All right. So just like with the other Duchess, Princess, and Spring hoops, they also come in these ovals. I have more of the little ovals of the metal ones, which are just funny because it's the size I least know what to do with, but I have 4 of them. I should probably...
Ornaments. Just
Gifts.
fill them all up. Ornaments.
Oh, these, okay, so this, on these, the Gibbs isn't here because the whole thing is metal, so the Gibbs is stamped over here. But yeah, I am stitching Elizabeth in the have been stitching Elizabeth in the Lavender Sky memorabilia with this one. But that is a full coverage white Ada project that I wasn't worried would get like stained based on where I was stitching on. But they are tight. Like, if you like tight fabric, I don't think you're gonna get tighter than an oval metal spring. Like, yeah, they're tight. And then you just want to be careful. With the oval, it's a little bit harder to be careful of the cork, but seeing what happens to the wood ovals with the felt, I know it's like, you really got to pay attention to how you're putting it back on. So.
But it is hefty. But if you're used to like a Q-snap or something, that would be no problem.
Yeah, but if you like the lightness of the bamboo, like craft store hoops, you're not going to want, this is not going to be where you want to go.
It's an adjustment for your wrist, for sure.
Okay. I have 4 more kinds of hoops. Well, I have 4 more hoops to show you that are a little bit different than those. So these are, I have 1 oval and 1 circle where they have a spring top. They almost look like tackle or like a horse tackle, the way they're assembled on top. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know who made these, but I gave Allison one of these too. And they're a wooden inner hoop and a spring metal outer hoop. I have stitched with them. You've stitched with them.
Yeah.
They're a little bit, I'm not great. These scare me more about like breaking my fabric and breaking the hoop. Like,
I was mostly scared about snagging my fabric. Because when you push it on,
very
it's
tight.
Super tight.
Like, they were so tight. So I do have these 2. I'm probably not going to buy another one unless I get them in like a mix of stuff. And the one I gave you, I didn't realize when I gave it to you, it was going to be the like hardest type to stitch with. But they're a little, and I think the one you have is this size.
Yeah, it's that size.
So sometimes you'll see these. I think they're fun to have. I wouldn't spend much money on them because I don't really stitch with these very much. I don't think there'd be a reason to. I would probably not stitch with these. They scare me.
Yeah, I did one project on it, and then I was like, you know what?
It's just kind of fun. Allison doesn't have things to have things, so I don't know if you'll like, if it's just me, if it's like.
You can have them back if you want.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I just mean like, you know, one day when you have a craft room or something, you might like it. Have it. But it's if you don't like to have things to like show or display or whatever, and you really want to use it, that's not the first one I would do. Okay, so another one I probably wouldn't start out with as a first vintage hoop, but they are priced really well. These are called the Butler Hard Rubber. These are from the Butler Hard Rubber Company. They're patented hoops. They are. Hi, Editing Stephanie. I forgot to mention that these hoops are called hold tight hoops. They're from the Butler Hard Rubber Co. But if you see like on eBay or something a hold tight hoop, that's what these are.
Oh, it is rubber.
Yeah, they're literally hard rubber, and nothing's gonna hold your fabric tighter than these because I can't even get these apart. Now there might be some cleaning I need to do or something on them that make them like easier to work with, in which case I might want to do that. But these came in a it was like random vintage hoops. And I like that I have all of these because they're very different but I wouldn't, if I was starting to stitch with vintage hoops and I was gonna buy one, I wouldn't buy a hard rubber.
I'm so curious though.
They're fun to like have as like, I think these are from I think Antique Needleworker showed these and talked about these, and I was like, oh, that's what they are, because I already had them in my box, but I had been afraid to use them.
Yeah.
They're in terms of like buying a vintage thing, you can clean this and they will not get your fabric dirty at all because there's nothing about them that wouldn't clean off. What?
It's like rubber.
But yeah, it's that sound.
Yeah. I can't even get it in. It's so tight.
They're very tight. So maybe there's something I can do to make mine looser or something. I haven't been using them. I don't know if they get looser as you use them either. Like, they just came in a grab bag of other ones.
Rose rubber.
But
I can't even get it on.
I know. And the inside of yours has grooves on it, and the inside of mine that I'm holding does not have grooves on it. They make a very funny sound.
I can't.
Okay, so like I said, if you see one of these for sale in like an estate sale or something for $1, you might want to grab it because they are vintage embroidery hoops. They do have like a unique history, but in terms of like, I wouldn't make it my first to use vintage hoops unless you're being handed it, just like inheriting it from someone who knows how to use it. And it's also possible that mine are tighter and they need something else care-wise. And if you know, let me know.
Yeah.
All right, so my last one is not an embroidery hoop. So I was already like loving vintage hoops, and I was at the thrift store. I was at a Goodwill, and this vintage quilting hoop was for sale. I don't know if I've looked it up. I can't tell what brand it is. So I don't know if this has like some quilting hoops this size, like that are vintage, have like resale value and like of like $20. I can't tell if this one actually would.
Yeah.
But I definitely, as a vintage hoop collector, I think it's fun to have it for $2.
Yeah.
It had like a project in it that was all stained that I ripped out. It
Yeah.
was like sold as like in the wall hanging, like wall art section. It wasn't sold in like the craft section. But it's kind of fun. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but
Learn how to quilt.
I should put it on the wall. But I don't.
You should put it on the wall.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to put like a quilt square or anything in it because I feel like the beauty of it is it by itself.
You should make like little one, like big, little, and then just string them all.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Wouldn't that be pretty?
So I have it. I'm probably gonna hang it on my wall when we move, but I don't know what its final form will be, or if anybody knows anything about these. This has no marking on the inside or the outside, and it was used to frame someone's like personal quilting like wall art project, and I took that out of it because it had like brown, what could have been blood stains on it.
I'm gonna go with chocolate.
It was like, I felt bad ripping up there, like, because at first I thought it was like machine made. Then I was like, oh, this was handmade, but it was really stained, and I feel like this needed to be saved. So, all right. So those are the vintage hoops that I have in my collection, and what I know about them, and where I have very high knowledge gaps. Couple other like topics. So I'm gonna list all the things all the research, the books, even though they're not super helpful for this topic, the blog articles, and the other Flosstube videos that I know of, like the Antique Needleworker one. She has the one where she has a huge collection. She has tons of queens. And she, has had them for so long, she's not mostly buying on eBay. I think she just had them. But she has a really good video where she walks through like all of her hoops in kind of a development of hoops way. And she gets all the way from like some of the earliest hoops to like nerd hoops. So it's a very fun video. So I'm going to list all of those resources in the description. Now, tips for buying them. I kind of mentioned some things already, but if you're going to buy on eBay, watch our eBay tips video if you don't know how to research what people have paid, like the actual price people have paid for an actual item. because sometimes these hoops get listed for like crazy prices, and sometimes that price is really what you'll pay, and sometimes that price is like not what you need to pay. Like the hoop I bought last week, I'm gonna pay $28 for everything, but I paid $20.50 for the hoop, and that same hoop is listed at Buy It Now for $60 from someone else in this very similar condition. So that video goes over like how I use eBay to buy cross stitch stuff, and then the comments also have some good tips from other people that use eBay. Other places I personally bought vintage hoops: thrift stores. Thrift stores are great. This Goodwill's not as great for some reason. Like their craft stuff always looks weird. Like it's like I feel like they're just throwing cross stitch stuff away.
It might be.
But Lost and Floss said some store was throwing it away. But the local charity resale shops around us, that is where I have found stuff. And then they have been sometimes in like grab bags of other things. So you might be like, oh, there's a bag of like old DMC, but actually tucked inside is a $30 hoop. So maybe I want to save this whole bag for $4.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. I did see a bag at Goodwill yesterday that I thought had one. And I kept looking, and I moved the stuff around to see it, because if you open the bags, they don't sell them to you. So I realized no, it was just like a reproduction, like Hobby Lobby hoop, and I was like, well, okay, I'm not gonna buy this. I don't know if this bag is even worth $7, because it was like, so if you see a grab bag of cross stitch stuff, it's worth it. And I know someone, and I won't share who it is in case, because this is their story to tell, but they had a major Facebook Marketplace score where the bag kind of was like, maybe it has wooden like vintage hoops, maybe it doesn't. And one of them was. Oh, cool. So they went and bought something off Facebook Marketplace, and it was a very cool score. So if they want to share that story, that's theirs to share. All right, Etsy, like I've bought 2 vintage hoops on Etsy that were undervalued. There are hoops on Etsy that are overvalued. So even if you're not gonna buy stuff on eBay, sometimes using the eBay research tools to see what people have literally paid as opposed to people listing it at will help you buying on Etsy and thrift stores and stuff too. Because it's nice to know, oh, that's a $25 hoop on eBay right now. Maybe in a year it'll be more or less. So if it's at the thrift store for $5, score. If it's on Etsy for $40, not a score. Because it's all relative, and it's all depending on like what people are willing to pay. I have not had any luck at antique and vintage stores when I've gone into them. Now where we're moving is 2 blocks from an antique store, so I'm gonna be looking more. But I know people have found them there. I have not. And I have never found any at garage sales or estate sales, but I'm not a huge garage sale, estate sale person. But if you are,
this area of town is huge.
Where we're moving is more of a like antique, old, like country, like maybe. So I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled, because also now I don't really need any more. Now it's more like if I see a really good deal on my favorite size, I'm gonna get it. Otherwise, what can I just find out in a boot? All right, so one of the nice things is if you get a good deal on one of them, then they'll hold their resale value, hopefully. Unlike a Blackbird pattern, they can't just re-release the 1916 patented whatever at the same like level, and they wouldn't even be the same quality because manufacturing just is different today. They would be different, but somebody could find something. Somebody could be like, oh, there's a warehouse in Canton, Ohio that nobody knew about. Here's $1 billion. So like the market could change, but at least if you pay less than what people are paying now, you probably could get your money back if you decided it's not for you, minus shipping and stuff, depending on what the margin is. All right, prepping them to use. So here's some tips I have been known to get one on the mail and pop it on a project. And Allison has made fun of me many times on here, and so I stopped doing that and looked up what you're really supposed to do. I haven't done all these steps on every hoop. Having them all out is a good, once we move, I'm gonna do a cleaning day where I clean them all. And I have an office to keep them in so my children can't touch them when they're out drying. So if you're gonna clean them, the wooden ones, be mindful of the metal bits and the felts, right? So you're not gonna soak the wood ones. So if I have a lot of water wipes because I have a toddler, so we're still in diapers. So I tend to just take a water wipe and kind of wipe all around it. Lysol a little bit. Lysol does not hurt wood. Sometimes if you Lysol before and then you let that kind of do its thing, and then later you wipe it down with water wipes. If you're worried about Lysol residue, that would be a way to go. because the Lysol will already kill the germs, and then you can wipe off any of that. But you want to take a water wipe or a solution of water and a small amount of dish soap, kind of wipe them with that. Wipe them dry, do not soak them because the wood will suck in that water. Some of those feel like they have a good coat over them where they might, but they're not like waterproof.
No. But much more so than the new one.
And the felt too, you're not going to want that like 180-year-old, 100-year-old felt to get soaked. So you're going to be still pretty gentle. If there's some stickiness, like if the person before you had like tape on it and it left stickiness on, then you want to take a little bit of olive oil to that residue, get that off, and then let that dry, and then wash it, do the washing process again so that there's no olive oil that would get on your fabric. But the olive oil is a natural way to get off stickiness. And this comes from Martha Stewart's website. So to get how to use olive oil to get stickiness off wood is you saturate cotton swab, apply it to the residue, use a blow dryer and carefully warm the area while using a soft dry cloth to wipe the area in the direction of the wood grain until the residue has completely released. Then dab the area with a clean cloth. Wait until it is fully dry and then wash again with soap, dish soap, and a water solution, but not soaking. And and then make sure nothing's left on it. So the wood ones are pretty easy. I've never had a wood one that came to me so dirty I couldn't like do anything with it. Now sometimes the Princess bow hoop is tarnished and I need to do use the metal cleaning instructions to clean that part of it when I do the cleaning. I'd like to get the tarnish off of them, but for the metal ones, use dish soap and a microfiber cloth. You can also and do the same process, but if you don't want the metal to get scratched, a microfiber cloth is better than like just a paper towel or like anything else, because the microfiber will keep it from getting messed up. But it's a pretty sturdy metal and a lot of them are kind of already banged up. So if you don't want to do that step of it, use a little bit of dish soap and water. Don't soak them because in the middle is cork, and then also you're not gonna be able to get all of it dry if you soak it. Like they have like the water will go in places and you don't want them to be wet too long because you don't want to create a tarnish problem. And then for the tarnish, you can use a vinegar solution, but don't soak the cork, and make sure to let them all air dry before, like wipe them dry, but then also let them air dry. Don't just stick it in a project bag or a box. Like you want to make sure they're completely dry so moisture isn't staying in them and creating new problems or getting on your project. Loose hoops. I don't have, so for my metal ones, I don't have any loose hoop problems with the metal ones. As you can see, we could barely get them open. Mm-hmm. I do have this one that's kind of funny shaped, like it's been bent, but it still is not loose. So I don't have this issue with the metal ones at all. The wood ones, it's really like, it's really the ovals that do it more, but any loose ones, you're gonna use washi tape. Now, I brought some. Okay, washi tape is not expensive, and what it is like artistic tape with like pretty decorations. People use it in paper crafting all the time, and then one of the main benefits, besides it's like being aesthetically pleasing, is that it doesn't have a ton of residue on it, so you can kind of get it off. Now, this whole box was $6 because I got it at a craft store, like warehouse reuse market. But even a few like pieces, you don't need much. You just need one roll to do like almost everything you need. So what you want to do is, if you feel a hot spot where you think, like, put your fingers around it. If you feel a hot spot where you think it could tear the fabric, like the wood is starting to splinter, cover that in 1 to 2 layers of washi tape. And then if you see it, there are places where they will be splitting apart a little bit, put washi tape there as well. And then if it's loose overall, especially if it's lost its felt, then putting washi tape will help get it so that it's tighter, because you're just creating an artificial barrier. In the past, people would do like ribbons or tape or lots of different things to do it. The nice thing about washi tape is that it's like, if you put a ribbon on it, it's not permanent, but it's annoying to then like readjust. Whereas washi tape, you can put 1 layer on, C, put another layer on, and C. Because if you put too much on it, you get it too tight, it can hurt your fabric and make the hoop really hard to use. So you don't want to make your hoop tighter than it should be. So just do one layer, see how it fits, do another layer, see how it fits. If you're worried about like a hot spot, put one layer, like one wrapper on, touch it and see, did that fix it? If it did, great. If it didn't, do one more. But just be kind of conservative about how much washi tape you use. I found that out the hard way and I couldn't get my project off one night because I was like being a little bit zealous. So washi tape is cheap and it really fixes every issue I've had with either loose or splintery broken hoops, to the point where every hoop I have is usable, of the wood ones, even the ones that seemed like they weren't going to be usable. All right, so that is prepping your hoop to use it. You want to clean it and then see if it has any issues. If it has any issues, washi tape will fix most of them. If you don't have washi tape and you want to do something else, go for it. I just wouldn't do anything that's going to leave residue, because that will be a future you problem. And if it comes with something already sewn in, I've been scolded. Take it off, but maybe take a picture of what it was, because it was clearly fixing the problem. So if you know, like, oh, it was right here, or oh, it went all the way around or whatever, take a picture of it. That might help you when you go to fix it. And if one or two spots, you might then be like, okay, let me replicate that with clean material.
Why? Yeah, why?
With clean material. Clean. I also didn't like the germ aspect of it. To me, I was like, well, it's like no one's touched it.
It's somebody else's germs.
It's fine. Okay. But yeah, I have started.
This is post-COVID, but whatever.
I have started to remove that stuff when it comes in, and when I'm going to use it as part of the prep, removing the previous person's adjustments, making my own adjustments, but take a picture so that you have a record of what their adjustments were, so that it can help you with your adjustments, especially if what you're naturally inclined to do doesn't fix it. All right, stitching with them, actually stitching with them. I just treat them like a Q-snap or any other thing. I put my stuff in it, I leave it in there, and then I take it back out. Like, I don't get real fussy with it, but I will show you loading one project just to do it. Let me find a small. What's this? Okay, yeah. All right, so this is Blackbird, my Blackbird design. I was stitching on this yesterday, and probably this hoop. So, whatever your hoop needs to do to open it up, open it up. You really do just load it like everything else. I will put it, the reason you don't want to make your thing too tight also is that you'll squish your stitches more if it's too tight and then you move it. So be as conservative with your adjustments and washi tape as you can get away with, so that you don't make it too tight.
Gotcha. All
right, so I just put it in like anything else. For the princess, I then push it over. And I mean, and I don't have to sit there and fiddle. I mean, yeah. For ease of use, I adore them. But
I like to complicate my life, Stephanie.
No, it's just like, like when I get out of Q-snap and I have to like move it around and like I load up all four things and like, and like for those, it's like, okay, get it, hold it. But this is just like, boom. That's like, really, I'm just so lazy. I'd rather source vintage accoutrement than have to twist a screw. Or like, I mean, I love Q-snaps and I use them for a lot of things, but it is annoying to load them, and I do leave projects in the Q-snaps too long because of that.
Because it's annoying.
I don't always, especially like if I know we're going to be filming a floss tube in 2 or 3 days and I'm going to be taking it off anyway. I do like to take them off every night, just like I like to take my Q-snaps off, but I will leave them on for 2, 3, 4 days if I know for sure I'm stitching on it the next day. But if I'm like done stitching on my bowl, or if we're going to be like, if we just filmed and we're not going to film again for 2 weeks and I'm not going to get it out again for a while, I will take the hoop off. Now, when I'm going to, like, I will usually keep the hoop in the bag, figured out exactly what I'm going to do about that. Like, what goes back in the bag and what doesn't will be different. But they're very easy to load. Yeah. Once you know your hoop is clean and you know it's a working order hoop, they're very easy to load. The duchesses, you don't do that. You just literally push it over. And the queens, I'll let you know if I ever get the courage to break out my, just like, I don't like, I would never rent a BMW. You know, like I don't even like borrowing Dad's truck because I'm like that truck is very expensive to replace. But like these are like I have $25 if I break it, knowing that I'm not gonna break it. You know, just be like okay. So that's loading the fabric, and then if you have one that has felt on the inside, just be kind of gentle with your felt because once the felt gets removed from it, it's not unusable. It just means it will need adjustment. So if you have a hoop that has intact felt, when you go to unload it, just be gentle. You don't want to disturb that felt. But you also don't want to be afraid of hurting the felt so much that you don't enjoy using it because washi tape will fix it. Like, so that's
yay.
Nice. Do you have any? Are there any questions you're having that people might want to know?
So, what got you first excited about the vintage hoops?
I think it was Flosstubes and Cousins.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I mentioned, I wrote down some people that are very inspirational to me about it. I don't think so Flosstubes and Cousins, they have some behind them and they were talking about like that they've never scored one or something that like, you know, like a garage sale or whatever. And Antique Needleworkers, her video came out after I already was doing it. So I think it was like I'd seen them on Antique Needleworkers and I'd seen them on Flosstubes and Cousins stuff, but I think it was them talking about it. And then, there are a few other places. Now, Stitch and Bunny, she doesn't show her hoops like the way that I like show them to people, but she talks about like her love of stitching with them and how she just thinks about what the little girls were thinking about, and it really connects her with history, and that's like right in the heart for me.
That's so you.
So I can't remember like the day that I learned about vintage hoops, but the people who are very inspirational to me in terms of like when I needed to figure out how to clean the tarnish off, it was Flosstubes and Cousins. Christy is the person I messaged, and she didn't know, but she messaged someone that I don't know who she messaged, and sent me there like this is what I would do. Like she's like the inspirational to me for it. Antique Needleworkers, Shelly, and then Carrie. I was trying to fixing Shelly and Carrie into just one person, which is funny because they're like best friends. But Carrie Tigerlily, she takes beautiful Instagram pictures with her vintage hoops with the stitching still in them, and she does an oval. Stitch to Speed has a lot of vintage hoops in her. Audrey has vintage hoops in her Instagram. I discovered her later, but whenever I know someone stitches with vintage hoops and I see it in their Instagram, I get like so excited. And then Stitchy Bunny. And then a couple people who have started showing theirs or talking about theirs more lately that I've seen. So Karen from KBH Stitches, she has one and she knows that I like them. So she showed, I don't remember if she talked about it on her video or on Instagram, but she pulled her Duchess out and it was wonderful. And then Stitch and Gem received one as a gift and tells a great story of getting it on her like StitchCon recap video, so I'll link her below too. But she just got a spring one and I'm very excited for her because I like the spring ones are so fun to use for me. So there are people who I know use them. A lot of people do. I did not like, I'm not the millionth person to use them. So if you have someone like a Flosstuber that shows them or talks about them a lot, or one video where they go over it a lot, please share. I know sometimes I watched Nicola Parkman, but I am not up to date on her like archive. It's very possible she or Karen Combs has had like a great breakdown video that I've missed. I would love to watch it if they have. So please let me know. But yeah.
If I were to take away your box of hoops and you can only have one back, which one are you gonna pick?
A 6.5 by, or 6x9, or a 6x12 oval,
And the oval one,
because
the princess oval?
Yeah, because it's the one that makes me able to do like fancy ladies and mirabilias with them, and not the way my brain works. It's like it's so much real estate. When I get to that much like real estate that's a picture, my brain wants to move to Q-Snap. But that's enough real estate that I can keep it in a vintage hoop, and it's really fun to stitch a fancy lady in a vintage hoop.
You get all immersed.
Yeah, it's like oh, it's like a little woodland fairy, and she's like, I don't stitch a lot of reproduction samplers. I stitch some modern samplers, but not a ton of samplers. But when I do a sampler, it's very fun to be in a vintage hoop too. Like I'm working on. I have a tale of woe to tell you, but I just restarted Come to the Garden. I will be restarting it again, but it is very fun to have it in a vintage hoop.
Okay, all right, we'll talk about that.
You guys will see that on our next Flosstube.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're not going to take the box, are you?
I'm not going to take the box. I'm going to let you have the box. And just keep us posted on what you're gonna do.
I will. I'm gonna clean them,
Yeah.
and I'll talk to you. Like when I clean them, I'll tell you guys on our Flosstube, like when it happened and everything. But then also like now that we have a Flosstube and we show like haul and stuff, if I get one, I will usually show it. But I bought most of these before we started our Flosstube, so I just show them like as I use them, which I think is fun. I think people like it. I'm not trying to brag. Like I'm trying to more be like, save if you see this, save it. And people have saved it, so I feel like it's doing its job. Yeah. So. And if you have any and you want to tag me in your pictures and show them to me, I would love to do a show and tell with your stuff as well. So, all right. If you're not a subscriber, we would love if you subscribe. We have some exciting celebrations coming up. So we would love to have you. If you Thursday there'll be a small tutorial video. We're gonna put out a special video this week. It may be out before this, but anyway. And then we also we'll have a big floss tube next Monday. So. You can see what got stitched in these this week. All right. Thanks so much. Bye guys.